Hello, and thank you for joining us here at Squiz. I'm Mary Claire Russell, Head of Field and Customer Marketing, and today we're going to take a look at how you can support citizens with consumer expectations. We're asking, can you keep up with the rapid pace of change? This webinar will help you navigate the complexities of tackling digital experiences, and we'll cover the latest trends and approaches we're seeing in the government space. Just a bit of housekeeping before we begin. This webinar is being recorded. You will receive an email within the next day. If you have any technical difficulties during our session, you can use the chat window by clicking on the icon at the bottom of your screen. And please submit any questions into the Q&A window, also located at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to submit any questions at any time, and Antony will be answering questions at the end of the session. We will be hosting a few polls throughout the session. The results will be shared with you alongside the webinar recording the next day. And we'll also have a quick survey at the end, so don't forget to submit your feedback. So that's it all from me. I'm going to hand things over to our presenter, Antony Negro, GM and Head of Transformation at Squiz. Welcome, Antony.
Thanks, MC. I'm coming to you from Melbourne. It's the sun is shining, but it's the record low morning. So I think it was less than 4 degrees this morning here in Melbourne. But thank you for that introduction. My name is Antony Nigro, and I guess I work at the intersection of business and technology, which generally results in the output of digital experiences. At Squiz, we fundamentally believe that leveraging digital can have a massive impact on the world. Of course, this will take time, as we're not at a point where digital literacy is among all generations or access to digital is equal. But we can make a difference by building experiences that are easy to use, accessible, and abstract organizational complexity. Today, I want to go through how to keep up with citizen expectations in an ever-changing digital world. In order to do that, I want to go back to the beginning of time. Well, probably not the beginning of time, but the evolution of the internet. When I was a young Antony, my mind was blown after the incessant squealing of my modem. I really felt connected to the world. I started getting access to, sports results that I had to check the newspaper for. I got content from different parts of the world that I really hadn't been able to reach. So this felt incredible. We did start making big strides, although the evolution took a hell of a long time. So to make it really purposeful took time. And I'm sure everyone can remember the hangover in government with Internet Explorer 5 and 6 being a major hindrance to our ability to advance experiences. And over time, I think you can say that the internet and the friend in our pocket, our phones, are essential to everyday life. We can plan, we can transact, we can pretty much do anything that we need to do as part of our life at the moment, and it is essential. Of course, citizens' expectations have really increased over time, and organizations have actually caught up. So government agencies need to make sure they're providing a consumer-level experience for the services they're providing. Not just that, people are looking at how do we surpass these expectations. So the demand for change is great, but it's coming from all directions and it's complex. To support that, Accenture published a report, and they said that there's a 183% increase in the rate of change that has disrupted organizations over the last 4 years. And not just that, 88% of leaders thought that that would only increase over time. So that means we've got to be ready to roll with the change. So technology has done its part, and the amount of apps that are available right now is crazy. So if you go back to 2011, there was around 150 apps that were available to help on a marketing experience or digital experience. Right now, we have over 11,000 different apps that are available for use. So this is fantastic, although has some challenges because we need to look at where the data goes. But not only that, security means that we have to consider the apps that we use. So I guess the question is, if change is continuous, Why do we manage digital experiences like projects? In order to answer that question, we've done a lot of soul searching. I personally have spoken to a lot of customers. Our marketing team have been on touch with customers, prospects, and even analysts to really understand why this is so complex. And generally, the answers came back were very consistent. People find that building digital experiences is too slow. Not just that, people feel held back from innovating. Projects take too long to complete. And sometimes it's actually easier to do nothing than fight through internal bureaucracy to be able to get a project over the line. And so this is how it makes us feel, that there is this aspiration gap. What we want to achieve are great things, but sometimes, whether it's technology or our organization and capabilities, it's holding us back. And it's very much our focus here at Squiz to be able to reduce this digital aspiration gap. Now, I'm going to ask everyone to commence a poll. And what we want to know is which one of those challenges resonates the most. So you should be able to receive a link now that has just come up. That's come up for me. I'll give everyone an opportunity to read that and respond. So in order for us to plan forward, what I'd like to do is look at what have been the influences over the last 12 months that are going to impact change for us. So the first one is cybersecurity. So cybersecurity has always been important, but in 2022, we saw a 72% increase in the number of data compromises, and that's on top of a really high in 2022. Speaking to my CTO, he has already reported that that number has increased this year. So security is very much paramount, and we have to consider that in every single interaction that we're doing. Another change that we saw in 2023 is a transition away from personalized experiences, moving through to really considered customer-centric strategies. And what I mean by that is there was a focus to personalize particular transactions and improve upon them. Now people are looking at the entire journey for a user or a citizen. What does it look like? How do we make it better across all aspects? And another major influencer through 2022 or in 2023 is AI. So I know everyone is having a play with AI. I've used it to write cards. People are using it to write content. If you need a policy, it's an awesome tool. The only thing that I'm seeing is people are starting to play, but they're not really being effective as yet. So in order to help you, we've determined these 4 trends and corresponding strategies to be able to help you work through the rapid pace of change that's happening at the moment. So the first trend is the future is dead, which sounds a little bit heavy. So I prefer to say that the future is unpredictable. And really, modern planning is planning to embrace change no matter what comes next. In order to roll with that, it really comes down to making a mindset shift. Too often I hear about critical paid projects that are going to take years to deliver, and that holds people back. I know that citizens are not going to wait for a major IT overhaul. We need to make sure that we're delivering value as quickly as possible. In order to counteract that, we've seen that a lot of customers have started adopting a product management mentality, which is really about understanding user needs and creating a roadmap to deliver over time in bite-sized chunks that will make sure that you can deliver value as quickly as possible and not wait for major IT projects. So if you couple a product management approach to ensure that we're continually delivering, we also should be breaking up large, complex projects into smaller bite-sized chunks. And I think that's why we call that with our trend 2 is to stop playing and start piloting with intent. So in order to do that, I'm going to explain it through some cake. So imagine this cake is a fully fledged housing portal. And each slice of the cake represents a different function of the portal. And if I were to take a slice of that cake, we know that that function will be made up of many technologies and or services to be able to support that function. So to pilot with intent, it's not enough to just say, well, I'm going to improve the user experience only. I'm going to do a redesign. I'm going to make it look better. We know that whilst that might have a satisfying impact originally, it's not going to allow you to make long-term changes to your system. So what we suggest is to pick a functional area and make sure that you're considering every single element of the stack or the environment that you're using. So if you're going to change the front end, make sure that you're considering the data and the way that's structured in your systems. So that's a really critical way for you to be able to focus forward. The third trend that we'll talk about is taming the Frankenstack. So I have to give a lot of credit to my marketing team and marketing teams out there. Our Frankenstack is adorable. It's made up of many different components that are driving our digital experience. So whilst it is cute, the intersections between those technologies are often really, really big, and they make data holes. So information is not always flowing through effectively, as well as they have limitations on our ability to adapt and adjust things in the future. In today's financial climate as well, CFOs are really cracking down on ROI, making sure that every single part of our stack is effective. Not to mention our CTOs, our CSOs, our security officers, they're really concerned that if we don't have the right integrations, the right data security, then we're going to be in trouble. So in order to address that, we think you need to have this model. It's cyclical. And the idea is that you need to constantly reassess the technology that you're using within your stack. Is it delivering value? Am I getting ROI? So if you are realizing value, that's awesome. Then double down, keep using that tech. If you're not, then you should rationalize that technology. So from there, if you keep taking this approach of piloting, leveraging new tech, but then if you're not realizing the value, that you rationalize it, then you'll find that you will be in a healthier state and you'll be able to keep your costs at bay and consider the technical impact of the work that you're doing. The fourth and final trend is about the era of professional independence. And really this means that we need to ensure that our organizations have really strong people and they are enabled to be able to make a difference in terms of digital experiences. There's no use having a team that's going to be hamstrung or that can't deliver on customer expectations. So it is really, really important to make sure that you've got the right tools in place that will enable that team to make a difference. A really great example is how we've separated duties around a component. So a component is a critical element to a digital experience, whether it's a front-end component or something that allows a user to interact. By having a really good pipeline, you've got your roles aligned that they can deliver in unison, but everyone can act independently. So your content editors need to be enabled so they can write the right content and copy and produce the right services. And everyone in your team should know their function and how they operate. So we want to go back to another poll, and we want to ask which of these trends might influence your work practices in the next 12 months. So that question's just popped up. I'll give everyone an opportunity to read and respond. So we've talked about the fact that the industry, technology, everything's going to continue changing. And we've talked about trends and things that you need to consider in your approach. But the question is, how do we make sure that we're moving forward effectively? And in order to do that, I want to go back to the fundamentals that you're operating. And from my perspective, having a really strong digital experience platform underneath it that promotes using different applications is going to be important. So from an industry perspective, we've seen lots of approaches to this in the past. So we've talked, or people would be aware of, there's different approaches. So one approach is when you get a monolithic technical platform. What that will have is everything you need within the box. The problem with that is you have to use every single aspect that comes with that piece of technology. So you're locked in, and it means you have to make trade-offs on some of the functional elements that you can complete within that system. An alternative approach is you go niche. And what that means is you go out and you find the best of every kind of technology that you would need. So you go hand pick some tech, put it together, and hope that all that thing's going to work. I guess our approach is making sure that you've got a composable DXP. So ensuring that you can bring in new technology, but have common interfaces for data to flow, for security to be considered, and then create one cohesive digital experience. Now, that concept can be a little bit difficult to understand. So what I want to do really quickly is explain what composability means and composable DXP means in your living room. So the first case I want to talk about is a monolithic approach. Now, everyone will recall we had a changing technology from VCRs to DVDs, and you could go to the shop and you could go buy an all-inclusive VCR and DVD player and television set. And you know what? When you got that, it was awesome. Everything worked together. I could record from my DVD and vice versa, and everything worked very seamlessly. But we stopped using VHS or VCR players. No one's really using DVDs anymore. My children need to plug in a PlayStation or something similar. And it means that all of a sudden, my all-inclusive device is not going to fit the bill anymore. I need something different. And you know what? I want a massive television as well. So as an alternative, what I do is I go down to the shop, and I'm going to go buy the best component available in every field. And you know what? It feels great. I'm buying the best devices that are out there, the best TV, and then I get it home and it starts to become a bit of a headache. All the components don't fit together as well. I'm struggling to get things working, and my expectations are not being met in the same way. And the other problem is I'm not getting any data from all of those systems working together. So in order to fix a problem, I'm having to dive into each single one of those components and decipher what's going on. And fundamentally, I'm not learning anything about my overall environment as well. So I'm not making a difference in my experience at home. The other problem is I might have one critical component. So streaming is really, really important. I've got my Foxtel box, but you know what? I don't want that anymore. But I've found that that's become so critical that I actually can't change anything else within my stack. So that's a niche approach. Now I want to talk about what would be a composable DXP approach. And within that, what we get are all the capabilities that we would need to drive the experience are all ready. And it means that I can come in and I can actually connect up all the devices that I need for my digital experience at home. So each has its own interface. I can then get those working. I'm not making trade-offs around the functions that I can use for each thing, and they're all playing nicely together. And what it also means is that I can switch out a device that's not working because it's already got common interfaces already set up. What's even better is that all that data is available for me to use in one spot. So I can make performance decisions around my platform, and I can make changes that are going to benefit the organization also, my living room at that stage. And one added benefit is that everything just gets upgraded all the time. So I'm not going to find myself in a position that I've got outdated technology or I've got security vulnerabilities as well. So taking this approach means that you can start to address some of the concerns that people have. We're able to build faster because we've got common interfaces for data, for security to be considered. We're able to ensure that customer experience can grow regardless of the technology that I'm choosing as well. So what I would love to highlight are a couple of case studies that I think if you haven't heard them as yet, I'll do a quick intro and you should reach out to the Squiz team if you want to hear a little bit more. So the first case study is a portal that we built in collaboration with our customers in the UK. So the SSCL, which is the Shared Services Connect Limited, it's an organization that's set up to be able to service government. And what they've built is the My Hub portal. And that enables employees to go in and complete self-service around leave bookings, managing pay, maternity leave, and a hell of a lot of other things. It's being used by 10 different government agencies in the UK at the moment, and there's 75% of government employees now actively using the portal. I think the key thing in that case study is the portal is built up like a cake. So you've got different functions that have different technology under it. And they're able to now continue releasing new functions by taking a slice of cake, building in new functions, leveraging the right technology and services in order to drive that forward. The second case study I just want to highlight is with the Local Government Association of South Australia. We call it the LGASA. So they've built out a centralized platform that's driving over 60 council websites. So what's been able to be built is a common set of tools that are available to all councils so they can commence quickly. So if I take that to an example of having a really strong design system that everyone's able to leverage, it means that each local council can go in and have that professional independence. They've got the tools they need in order to deliver a web experience or digital experience that will help drive their citizens forward. So to summarize, I think this is very much at the heart of what we're delivering through our product roadmap, is really a focus on making sure that as customers, as government agencies, that really you're able to come as you are. And what that means is you can leverage different technology that might be in play already at the organization, or bring new technology on to be able to support a digital experience. Of course, we're constantly working on making sure that we can build digital experiences faster than ever before. And I think that's super critical. And of course, we need you to be able to embrace change with confidence. So you need to understand what's working, what's not, and make sure that you can change as quickly as required. So what we'll do is we'll head over to our final poll for the day. And that is, what are the top 2 DX priorities for your organization for the next 12 months? And that question should have popped up now. And that's really all the content I wanted to go through. So we're open to questions. So MC, I'm just saying I can't see any questions, so I'm going to need your assistance. Okay, so I've just received some questions. Apologies for the pause. So the first question is, how do we get started with AI? It's a bit daunting and confusing. I tend to agree. I think if we go back to the points in the presentation earlier, everyone is playing with AI, and I know most organizations have a form of AI strategy. and they're starting to play. I think the most important thing to remember, first off, is that AI is a tool to use to be able to help deliver a digital experience. AI itself is not the objective. So in all circumstances, you have to start with really strong use cases that can leverage AI. So the idea of just putting on a chatbot, yes, that will assist, but really, what is that chatbot or agent there to help with? The other thing that I would consider is making sure that you make the right choices. AI is going to introduce some complexities for your organization. So number one, there is the large language models that sit underneath the AI that we're using. We need to make sure that we're selecting the right one. So there can be an implication on cost and also the quality of results that will come through as well. So my suggestion is start with a use case and then focus on using the right technology approach that's going to support that use case. Critical to that as well are subject matter experts. So if we are creating results or answers, we need to make sure that they're going to be valid. So I would ensure testing occurs with AI and really focus on validating those responses. The other thing that we're considering with AI as well is the ability to govern what's going on through that. Now, there's going to be some questions around privacy. So if a user is interacting with a chatbot, as an example, or an agent, we're going to start getting to the realm of personal information being shared. So number one, we need to make sure that we've got security and sign-off for each of those components. So if we are going to be storing any personal information, where is it going to live? Who's governing that? We're also, from our perspective, we're introducing permission models across AI to ensure that not anyone can just go in and gather results from the AI chatbot or an agent, that it's going to be governed instead. So hopefully that helps out. Okay, I've got another questions that's come through from MC. Apologies, the interface is not working properly for raising more questions. The question here is, our teams deal with a lot of legacy tech. How can we be flexible enough to take these approaches? So I think it comes up with a lot of our customers at the moment that there is some legacy approaches or technology that is in play. Once again, what I would focus on is not the problems caused by that technology, but I would start with what is the customer experience that I want to be able to enable that technology may limit. And from there, I would focus on what will make a difference to that user and then start building out, I guess, a business case of how do I actually get to that outcome. So it means most likely that I would want to change things at a time. I've got an expression which is to tactically move forward in a strategic manner. And what that means is don't try to change everything all at once, change functions that are going to be critical for end users and keep changing them over time. So it completely relates to that ability or using piloting with intent. That is really going to help you move forward. So take a slice of cake and deliver on the functions that you need to, changing the required technology at the time. I'm just checking to see if there's any more questions coming through. Okay, so the next question is the difference between monolith and composable really only the fact that composable is software components that can be updated by themselves? In essence, aren't you still with the monolith system with composable elements? I mean, is it still one system? Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think that, yes, being a composable DXP, it's not just about being able to plug things together and make a digital experience. it really comes to ensuring that whatever function that you're creating from a digital experience can be supported regardless of what technology has changed. So if we talk about a CRM for instance, that can be critical to a digital experience. If I'm using a CRM, it should have common interfaces where data can flow. So it means that I can change from one CRM to another and really have it not disrupt my digital experience. So there's still work to be done, but it means that it would still feel like the same platform. I think that other bit of being able to report on every single element of that stack means that if I change CRM, I should still be able to have the same performance reporting that occurs through that entire process. Okay, I've got a next question here. What best practices do you recommend for doing a comprehensive tech audit and phasing out outdated systems, particularly to prevent disruption to CX and critical services? So if I dive into that, so what best practice do I recommend? Comprehensive tech audit. So I think it goes back to that element of, number one, monitoring your digital experience and what impact that's having. Earlier, I talked about that model where you should be constantly assessing the technology that's in play and be able to pinpoint what the ROI that system is delivering. And I think by having that data available and completing that reassess, it really means that you can make good, rational decisions. I guess changing technology, it shouldn't be about personal preference. It's got to be squarely around what impact is it having on a customer experience. So by having the data on the impact of what it's doing, you can measure change as well. And so that means you can be a lot more considered when you're making those changes for different technology in the future as well. Okay. The next question has come in. Can you provide examples of specific tech stacks that are being used within the component service in the DXP? So I think there's a really exciting release that's coming up next month through our product. So what we've got within our DXP is the ability to do digital asset management being released. I think it's in July. I'll double check that. But we're actually releasing an integration with another DAM, which is called Binder. And being composable means that you can use that interchangeably with our own DAM as well. So as a user, I've got a bulk amount of images or videos that I might want to use. Binder does a really great job of making sure that it's compressed and it's the right quality that needs to be served up. So as a user, you'll be able to go to Matrix, and instead of, I can make a decision of whether I want to upload an image, as an example, to Matrix, or if I want to be able to upload that directly to Binder. And the same can be said of selecting an image. If I want to select an image, I can go directly through to through to Binder, through the one interface, and select images to be able to use. So I think that's a really great example of the benefits of a composable approach and something you should be looking out for over the next month. Just checking if there's any more questions. All right. The next question is, how can AI technologies like chatbots and virtual agents be used to improve CX and service delivery? So it's a really good question because, yeah, AI is going to assist us. What we've got at the moment are some very, what I'd call traditional approaches, how people consume information. So most people, know how to navigate a website. They know how to navigate an information architecture, and they're used to using search as a tool to be able to find what they want if they can't just navigate to a page and discover information. I don't think that's going to change. I think websites, I think search are extremely important, although I don't think we're always working in manners that users want to interact with. So I think making sure that you can use AI to enhance search is really important. Most people are still doing single word searches. So being able to use AI to put that into a common phrase or something similar and help make content more discoverable is going to be important. We also see things like chatbots and agents as a helper through existing content. So if I'm using a search as an example, I go off, search for a particular result, and from there, that like a chatbot could follow me as an example and say, have you found the information that you want through search? And how can I help you further? So I think that's going to assist with more discoverable information. And not just that, AI and also using search more effectively can mean that you can train responses and ensure that people are getting the right information from what you're sharing. Okay. I think this is the last question that's come in. It's how can we modernize our current CMS and transition to a more user-friendly, secure platform for delivering content and services to citizens? So this can have two lenses, but I'll just pretend if you are new to Squiz and what we're doing, I think you've got some decisions to make around the approach that you want to take. It depends on how bad your current situation is that would impact what I'm doing. And so in some circumstances, you could look at like a lift and shift approach where you pick up your content. We've got tools as an example that can scrape existing websites and push that into our digital experience platform extremely quickly. And it means that you can get off one of your platforms if need be extremely fast. An alternative approach would be to, in some cases, migrate content, but also look at the experience uplift that you want to make through that change. So if you are planning a big change and you've got the resources, potentially you want to look at redesigning the experience that you've got. My suggestion would be to use a design system, make sure that you've got a consistent interface, and then you can roll those changes out and continue evolving your website over time. So that was your last question. We'll just get on to next steps now. So MC, I'm not sure if you're jumping back on or I'll just continue. So thank you once again for your time and apologies for some of the technical difficulties at the end there. But we will share a copy of all the polls and the results that we've got through that, as well as a copy of our digital experience guide for 2024. So that will talk in more detail around some of the trends that I went through. Of course, please make sure that you've gone and signed up for our latest newsletter. Our marketing team and product team do an awesome job of releasing all of our product roadmaps and some customer stories that are going to be able to benefit you and influence change that you want to make as well. Of course, those case studies that I talked about today are fantastic. So if you want to learn any more about those case studies, please reach out to your account manager or feel free to drop us a note. And of course, there's a QR code on the screen. If you are interested, please feel free to grab that QR code and you can book in a time to speak to one of our consultants. But once again, I thank you for your time and please feel free to reach out if you've got any questions.